What's going on, everybody? Is your boy Polo Evolve. I'm back with another video, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about how to break free from bad habits, the negative thought loop, all that good stuff, right? Or really all that bad stuff. So to begin this video, I want to kind of get into a little bit of a backstory, right? So personally, I grew up in a neighborhood. It wasn't the worst, like we didn't have bombs fucking flying over our heads, but at the end of the day, it wasn't all sunshines and rainbows either. Because well, there's one story when I was a kid. I think I was in the eighth grade. Yeah, I was in the eighth grade, and so I was about like 13 years old. And my dad had the iPhone 3GS, which at the time was a pretty snazzy phone. It was a good state-of-the-art phone. The iPhone was just coming up at that time. If you guys know, you guys know. Anyway, one summer day, I went to the mall with my friends. I went to McDonald's, went and grabbed a McFlurry. Now, I guess some people at the McDonald's realized, or they kind of scoped out the scene and they saw that I had this iPhone in hand. They ended up following my little group of friends at the time, and they said, "Yo," right? I turned around and my dumbass at the time thought they wanted to know what the time was. I mean, I clearly should have known better, but hey, I was a kid. I didn't really know any better. And so I turned around, I went up to them, and when I got up to where they're at, which by the way, there was like 10 of them, like two or three of them grabbed me. One guy pulled out brass knuckles and just boom, shot me right to the ground. Like he punched me right to the ground and started beating my ass and said, "Yo, give me all your fucking shit." And I'm just like, "No, no." Like in my head, I'm thinking, bro, I watch my dad grind every single fucking day. So my dad's a cab driver, so growing up, like I never really seen him at home because he would always be working. So in my head, I'm thinking, bro, there's no way I can lose this phone. My dad fucking works every day and night to provide for us. I'm not giving up this phone. And thankfully, by the grace of God, they're beating my ass. And eventually, I guess these group of guys, they saw from the other side of the parking lot. They saw what was going on. They kind of sped over. And when they sped over, these guys just kind of dispersed. So I ended up going home, but I had learned a valuable lesson that the world was not as black and white. It was not sunshines and rainbows like I thought it was. And I realized that, hey, there are some people that will shoot, rob, kill, steal just to make a way, right? And so this is kind of the environment I grew up with. So when you grow up in an environment like this, it's very easy to get caught up in things like that as well, negative things, negative thought patterns, because everyone around you, that's all they know. This is their environment, right? Everyone is so used to doing things a certain way. By the time I was in high school, all of my friends that I had known from middle school, so the older guys, that I personally I looked up to them. They were already smoking and drinking by the time by the time I got into the ninth grade. So what did I do? I started smoking and drinking because these are guys that had some sort of influence over me. And so when I see that they're doing something, I want to do that thing as well, right? And I'm pretty sure there are some younger guys that looked up to me like that as well, and they started picking up the habits that I had started doing as well. So it's kind of just a cycle, right? Because basically these guys will see what the older guys are doing, they'll repeat that, or they'll kind of replicate or emulate what they're doing, and then those guys that emulated what the older guys are doing now teach that to the younger crowd as well. And again, it's just a cycle over and over again. It's just a never ending looping cycle. It ends up creating bad habits, and I guess reinforces the bad environment that I grew up in. And I don't want to say it's all bad, because there are obviously some, memorable things. There's some good things that came out of it as well. But for the most part, everyone in my environment is so accustomed to living a certain way that they're all stuck in negative habits. And me myself, I also got stuck into this negative thought loop. You don't really realize that you're stuck in a cycle until something, I guess, you come close to losing your life, or something just very drastic happens to you where you actually have to sit back and reflect upon your life and the decisions that you're making. Of course, I had that type of moment multiple times actually, and that forced me to look at my life and think, wow, what I'm doing is leading me down a path that is clearly not going to end well. I'm either going to end up in jail or fucking dead. And because, again, I would see people that would either go to jail or end up dead. So it became very clear to me that I needed to shift my way of thinking. I needed to start living life a little differently, right? I needed to break free from all the bad habits that I had built up in my teenage years, in my young 20s, my early 20s. If I wanted to survive, not only survive in this environment, but thrive in this environment, right? Because another big moment, or big eureka moment that happened was when you are living in an environment where everyone all they know is X, Y, and Z, and you are never exposed to A, B, and C, which I'm in this case, and in this case, A, B, C is really just success on a different level because in my environment, the people that were quote unquote successful were all drug dealers or scammers. And again, there are, of course, some guys that ended up becoming doctors, lawyers, engineers. I don't want to say that everyone fell into this trap. There's still a way for you to get out of it. Those people chose a different route, is what I'm saying. But for the most part, all the guys that had motion were really just drug dealers and scammers. So again, when you're a kid, you're looking up to this type of lifestyle and thinking that this is the way that you should go, and you don't really know any better because you're not exposed to anything better. With that being said, when I finally got a little older and finally started hanging out with people from different walks of life, so I guess like from different neighborhoods, different areas, more affluent areas, parents that were both working and just kind of like they came from like better families, I guess. That started to open up my mind. And I started to see that there was much more to life than just what I was seeing on a day-to-day basis. And when I finally had that eureka moment, it made me realize I don't want to fucking live like this. I want to change the way that I live, and I want to make sure that I can actually achieve this level of success that I've now been exposed to, right? So, what did I end up doing? I ended up watching a lot of videos of people that were successful, people that I wanted to be like. I started reading self-development books, people or books in general that would kind of expose my mind to new ideas, ideas that were not necessarily common in my day-to-day environment. I did this on purpose in order to expose my mind to these new ideas so then I can actually, I guess, expand my horizon. That was like the first step for me to break free from the negative thought loop or the negative habits that I had going on at the time, which again was like smoking, drinking, partying, chasing women, just doing all the bullshit, man. So by the time I got to 24 years old, I realized that the way that I was going in life wasn't necessarily the way that I wanted to go, or the way that I saw myself in the next 10 years. I didn't have goals of becoming a drug dealer or scammer, but nonetheless, once I had that eureka moment, I started to expand my mind to brand new ideas, but also now I had to break free from all the habits that I had built up in my teenage years. For example, drinking. Drinking was one thing that when I was in high school, me and my homies used to drink like almost every single day. I think in the 12th grade, there was a period where we just drank every single day after school. At that time, the habit of me drinking didn't necessarily affect my life negatively because again the compound effect did not take place yet, so I was still an honor roll student. So in my head I was thinking, oh, as long as I get good grades, it's okay if I drink after school every single day because it's not really affecting my life, right? Wrong. What ends up happening is at first it seems like it's not negatively affecting your life, but the compound effect has to work over time, right? So again, you can also flip that to going to the gym. That's a positive habit, but you won't really see the results until you've been doing it consistently for about 6 months, a year. That's when you'll start to see that the results are actually coming in, right? Same thing with drinking. So in this case, I didn't really see the compound effect take effect until years later. That's when I realized like my life was in shambles. I had low energy. I was making a whole bunch of mistakes. A lot of the problems that I had in my life were due to the fact that I was basically a fucking alcoholic. And I don't want to blame everything on the environment. Obviously, I chose to pick up the bottle, pick up the drink, sip that, whatever, pick up the red cup. I made that decision. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is there was that moment where I finally realized I wanted to break free from this habit. And that is basically step one. Step one is identifying that you have a habit that you want to break. So in this case, we're just going to use the example of alcohol. I'm going to say that you just drink every single weekend, just because that's probably much more common amongst people. I don't think many people are drinking every day like I was, or like me and my homies were. But we're gonna use that as the example. So number one is that you identify the problem. You identify that, hey, I don't want to fucking drink every fucking weekend anymore. I don't like doing that. So I want to stop it. That's great. So second step is you want to plan how you're going to break free from this bad habit. If you know that you drink every single weekend because one of your friends will link you, he'll link you and say, hey, what are you saying? Let's go fucking drink. Let's go to this bar. Let's go to this event. Let's go to do this and just grab a bottle and drink. You know that happens every time that friend links you. You're going to have to put some sort of safeguard in place. This is where you are doing a little bit of introspective work and realizing, where are the pitfalls? Where do I keep falling into this habit, right? It could be a friend, it could be a certain trigger, it could be a certain emotion that you feel, right? Maybe you're talking to a girl and she's giving you a whole bunch of trouble, and maybe it's like a toxic relationship. And every time that she, breaks your heart or does something, you feel the need to pick up the bottle. So in this case, what you need to do is tell that girl to kick rocks. You need to stop talking to that girl, because that girl, guess what? She is the trigger to you picking up the bottle. Number three is, now you want to actually take action. You figured out what it is that is triggering this bad habit. You figured when are you doing these things. You figured out when are you most likely to indulge in these bad habits, and you figured out, okay, I do habit A when I'm exposed to X, Y, and Z. And so now, in the third step of taking action, you want to make sure that you are actually following through with your plan to replace this bad habit or just get rid of this bad habit and altogether. Now, what will end up happening is a whole bunch of people, they will actually, they'll get to this point where they'll identify the problem, they'll plan out how they're going to solve that problem, and then they'll start taking action. But what ends up happening is most people, they'll take action and then they'll run into, I guess, what I'll call a pitfall. Is, so in this case, let's say you stop drinking for a month straight. You've been drinking every single weekend for a year straight, and then for 1 month straight, you stop drinking. You stop looking at that friend, you told that girl to kick rocks, you're done drinking, but for some reason, this happens often, more often than you think. One weekend, maybe it's a special event, and in your head, you're thinking, okay, I'm not gonna drink because I'm doing so well. I haven't done it for a month. But you go to this event and, all your friends are there and everyone's drinking, and you kind of fall into this pressure, and somehow you pick up the cup, you take a shot, one shot leads to another. Next thing you know, you're fucking drunk. You make a bad mistake. You go right back into that negative habit that you were trying to avoid, or you're working so hard to get rid of. At this point, what most people will do is they'll think that their whole journey of, they just didn't do that habit for 1 month after doing it for, let's say, like 5 years. 5 years straight, you were drinking every single weekend. And then that 1 month, you stopped drinking every weekend. When people revert back into their old habits, they don't realize that all the progress that they made does not just disappear overnight. Just because you fell into that one pitfall does not mean that you have to stay in that pitfall. You can decide, hey, at this point, I have stopped drinking for a month straight. And just because I had one pitfall and I drank, that does not mean that I have to fall and revert back to my old ways. In fact, it just means that I have gone a month and without drinking, and then I've just drank one time. Now I can do another month. I can do 2 months now. I could work towards actually breaking free from this habit. What I'm trying to get at here is the fact that you've been doing this habit for 5 years. What the fuck makes you think that it's just gonna happen? It's just gonna go away overnight? It's not. It's gonna take some time, and that's okay. You have to understand this is all part of the process, and this is really what is going to set you apart from being a winner and a loser. Because winners also go through that little stage where they will basically self-sabotage themselves. They'll fall back into bad habits, but the difference maker is the fact that they do not allow this self-sabotage or them reverting back for one night or whatever the case may be to equate into failure. It's not failure, it's just a little setback. At the end of the day, how you pivot your mindset from looking at this little setback is what's going to determine whether or not you actually fully break free from that habit or just fall right back into the cycle. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. I know it's a bit of a long video. It's kind of like a psychological video here. It's something that I've noticed, and I just want to talk about it because for myself, because I've really struggled from breaking free from bad habits in my life. It's okay to have bad habits, but it's not okay to be stuck in those bad habits, especially if you want more from your life. You guys can go out and get it. I'm telling you guys, it is very possible. The way my life was 5 years ago, 10 years ago was completely way different from where I'm at right now. And I'm really just scratching the surface. I still haven't even reached my maximum potential. But I'm trying to tell you guys, like, it is very possible. You can do it. Just set your mind to it. Let's get it, boys.